He didn't flinch at her hideous, alien body, so she revealed her true self. The docking clamps locked with a heavy sound as Evan Cole's small salvage ship settled against the abandoned station. The station had no name anymore, only an old guild code burned into its outer shell. Most pilots avoided this place. It floated far from trade lanes, surrounded by silence and stories that grew darker every time they were told. Evan did not believe stories. He believed in work, in tools, and in the simple rule that broken things could be fixed. He powered down the engines and checked his suit seals. The station's power readings were low but stable. Someone was alive inside. That alone made the job unusual. Most abandoned stations were empty, stripped clean, or left to freeze in space. The guild message had been short and careful. One survivor, species classified as hazardous. Extra pay offered. Evan accepted without asking questions. He cycled the airlock and stepped inside. The station smelled old, like metal and dust and something faintly organic. Emergency lights glowed along the corridor, dim and uneven. His boots echoed as he walked, the sound too loud in the quiet. He kept one hand near his tool pack, not a weapon. He was not a soldier. He was a salvager. The sensors led him deeper into the station, toward a sealed habitat ring. As he walked, he noticed signs of careful repair. Someone had patched walls with scrap plating. Power lines had been rerouted by hand. This was not a feral creature hiding in ruins. Someone intelligent lived here. He stopped at the entrance to the habitat ring. The door was bent inward, clawed, and burned long ago. Evan activated his translator and spoke calmly. "I'm here to repair the station. I won't hurt you." The silence stretched. Then something moved in the shadows. She stepped into the light slowly, as if testing whether it would burn her. Her body was tall and uneven, built wrong by human standards. One arm was longer than the other. Her skin was dark and ridged, crossed with old scars that looked like they had never fully healed. Her legs bent backward slightly, giving her a predatory stance. Her face was the hardest to look at. Too many sharp angles, eyes that reflected the light like polished stone. A mouth lined with teeth meant for tearing, not speaking. Most species screamed when they saw her. Evan did not. He felt the usual first reaction, a quick tightening in his chest, the instinctive response to something unknown. Then it passed. He had seen worse things in derelict ships and deep space wrecks. Fear was not useful. Panic broke more people than vacuum ever did. He met her eyes and gave a small nod. "Hi," he said. The alien froze, her claws flexed, scraping lightly against the floor. She was ready to strike, ready to run, ready to die if she had to. Instead, she stared at him, confused. Her translator clicked and hummed, adjusting to his voice. "You, do not recoil," she said slowly. "I'm standing too far away," Evan asked. "I can step back if you want." Her head tilted. "No human has asked me that." Evan shrugged slightly. "First time for everything." The alien watched him carefully, waiting for the disgust, the insult, the threat. It never came. He set his tool pack down and opened it, keeping his movements slow and clear. "The guild said this place needs repairs," he said. "Life support is barely holding. If it fails, we both have a problem." "You would repair it," she said, "even knowing what I am." "I know you're alive," Evan replied. "That's enough for me." Something shifted behind her eyes. Not trust, not yet, but something less sharp than hatred. She stepped aside, allowing him to pass into the habitat ring. Inside, the station showed signs of long isolation. Plants grew in makeshift trays, adapted alien species mixed with human algae strains. Water collectors hummed softly. The alien had kept herself alive with skill and stubbornness. Evan scanned the systems and frowned. "Your recycler is patched with scrap metal and hope," he said. "I'm impressed it's still running." She watched him work, never turning her back. "I learned to repair what I could," she said. "No one else came." "I came," Evan said simply. The word seemed to strike her harder than any insult. As he worked, the station lights brightened slightly. Air circulation improved. The silence felt less heavy. Evan spoke as he worked, explaining what he was fixing, not because she asked, but because silence felt wrong. "My name's Evan," he said. "What should I call you?" She hesitated. Names were dangerous things. Names were how hunters marked prey. "You may call me Lyra," she said at last. "Nice to meet you, Lyra." She studied his face closely. "You are afraid," she said, "but you stay." "Fear doesn't always mean leave," Evan replied. "Sometimes it means be careful." Lyra considered that. Her people believed fear was weakness. The empire that broke them believed it too. Humans, it seemed, treated fear like a tool. Hours passed. Evan repaired conduits, replaced filters, stabilized power nodes. Lyra stayed nearby, sometimes helping with surprising precision, sometimes simply watching him as if he might vanish. Finally, she asked the question she had been holding since the moment he arrived. "Why do you look at me like that?" "Like what?" "Like a person," she said. Evan paused. He thought about it honestly. "Because you talk like one, you think like one, you're clearly trying to survive. Monsters don't usually bother with gardens." A rough sound escaped her throat. It might have been laughter, it might have been pain. "They made us into this," she said quietly, "so the galaxy would forget what we were." Evan didn't ask who. He didn't push. He simply nodded and went back to work. When the main system stabilized, the station hummed with renewed life. Lights shone brighter, heat spread evenly. Evan leaned against the wall, wiping sweat from his brow. "That should hold for a while," he said. "I'll file a report and bring proper replacement parts next trip." "You will return," Lyra said, surprised. "Yeah," Evan said, "still a lot to fix." She watched him gather his tools. Something inside her shifted, a tension she had carried for years loosening just slightly. Before he reached the airlock, she spoke again. "Evan," he turned. "You did not flinch," she said. "Even when you first saw me." He thought for a moment. "I guess I've learned that flinching usually says more about the person doing it." Lyra nodded slowly. As the airlock sealed behind him and his ship pulled away, Lyra stood alone in the habitat ring. The station felt different now, not just repaired, but changed. For the first time since the galaxy had labeled her a monster, a human had looked at her and seen something else. And somewhere deep inside her, a secret stirred, watching, waiting. Because if this human truly did not fear what she appeared to be, then perhaps one day she could show him what she truly was. Evan returned to the station 12 days later, just as he promised. The station detected his ship before he reached the docking ring, and internal lights brightened in response. Lyra stood near the habitat window, watching the small human vessel approach. She told herself it meant nothing. Humans were unreliable. Kindness was often a trick. Still, she found herself waiting. The docking clamps locked into place with a familiar sound. This time, Evan entered without hesitation. He moved like someone stepping into a place that was becoming familiar, not like a man entering a nest of danger. "Good news," he said as he cycled through the airlock. "I brought real parts this time." Lyra studied him closely. His posture was relaxed but alert. His eyes moved around the station, checking lights, listening to the hum of machines. He smiled when he saw the plants still growing. "You kept everything alive," he said. "I followed your instructions," Lyra replied. "They were clear," Evan chuckled. "I'll take that as a compliment." As he unloaded equipment, Lyra noticed something new. A small human symbol painted on the side of one crate. She recognized it from old data archives. It belonged to humanity's outer systems fleet. "You did not come alone," she said. "I didn't bring anyone with me," Evan replied. "But yeah, I filed a partial report." The guild wanted more details. I was careful with what I shared. Lyra's body tensed slightly. "Careful how?" "I said there was a survivor," Evan said. "I didn't describe you, I didn't label you. I said the station was stable and under repair." She searched his face. "Why protect me?" Evan shrugged. "Because I don't trust guild politics and because you didn't ask to be found." Lyra turned away, pretending to inspect a power conduit. Inside, something unfamiliar stirred. Relief mixed with fear. Protection always came with a price. As Evan worked, ships began passing near the station. Trade vessels, scouts, travelers using the outer routes. Word spread quickly in space. A human was repairing a cursed station. A human was alive inside it. Messages followed. Some were warnings, some were threats. Evan received them quietly, reading them while running diagnostics. He did not show them to Lyra, but she could sense the shift in the air. "You are being watched," she said. "Yeah," Evan replied. "Comes with the job." "No," she said firmly. "This is different." That night's cycle, an alien patrol vessel moved closer than necessary. Its signal brushed against the station's perimeter like probing fingers. Evan stood by the console, jaw tight. "They want me gone," Lyra said. "And you with me?" Evan looked at her. "Then they'll have to ask me directly." The patrol hailed them. Evan answered. "This station is under temporary human repair contract," he said calmly. "Any interference will be reported." The alien officer laughed. "You're defending a monster, human." Evan's voice hardened. "You're talking about a resident. Choose your words better." The channel cut. The patrol withdrew, but not far. Lyra watched Evan in silence. "You risk your species standing," she said. "For me." I risk my own, Evan replied. Big difference. The days passed. Repairs continued. Evan brought better food, better filters, better tools. Lyra helped more openly now. Her movements became less guarded. Sometimes they worked in silence. Sometimes Evan talked about human worlds, about oceans and storms and cities built too close to the edge of disaster. Why build where destruction is likely? Lyra asked once. Evan smiled faintly. Because humans don't like running forever. She understood that better than she wanted to. One evening, as the station drifted through the shadow of a dead moon, Lyra finally spoke of her past. My people were not always feared, she said. We were negotiators, builders. We refused to kneel. Evan listened, tools forgotten in his hands. The Empire altered us, she continued. Changed our bodies, spread stories. They told the galaxy we were violent by nature, dangerous to look at, dangerous to touch. That's messed up, Evan said quietly. They succeeded, Lyra said. Most species will not share space with us. They kill us on sight. I hid here to survive. Evan leaned back against the wall. Humans have a saying, if someone has to lie that hard to justify hurting you, it usually means they're scared of what you really are. Lyra looked at him sharply. You believe that? I do, Evan said. A warning alarm interrupted them. Long-range sensors flared, 3 ships, Imperial design. Lyra froze. They found me, she said. Evan's hands moved quickly over the console. They're not broadcasting yet. They do not need to, Lyra said. They know. The Imperial ships took positions around the station, blocking escape routes. Their hulls were smooth, confident, built to dominate. A message came through, cold and precise. Surrender the altered asset. The human will be allowed to depart. Lyra stepped back, shadows curling around her form. You must leave. Evan shook his head. Not without talking. You will die, she said. They will make an example of you. Evan met her eyes. Then they'll have to deal with human paperwork. Despite everything, Lyra let out a short, broken sound. It was laughter, real this time. Evan opened the channel. This station is under human civilian repair, he said. You don't have jurisdiction here. The Imperial commander responded smoothly. You misunderstand. We do not require permission. Evan glanced at Lyra. She was shaking, not from fear alone, but from restraint. I can end this, she said, if I reveal myself fully. Evan frowned. What do you mean? She hesitated. Secrets pressed against her like a second skin. My current form is incomplete, she said. If they see what I truly am, they will stop hiding. Evan considered that. Will it put you in more danger? Yes, she said honestly. Then don't, Evan replied without hesitation. She stared at him. Even now you choose ignorance. I choose you staying alive, Evan said. The Imperial ships powered weapons, testing ranges. Evan sent a burst transmission on a secure human frequency. It was short, simple, civilian under threat, outer route, non-hostile. The reply came minutes later. Acknowledged. Lyra felt it then. A shift in the void, something moving fast. The Imperial commander scoffed. You think your kind will come? Evan smiled. I know they will. Human ships dropped out of jump space with no warning. Not large, not elegant, but numerous. They spread out with practiced ease, placing themselves between the station and the Imperial fleet. The Imperial commander paused, calculated. Lyra watched the humans move, each ship adjusting for the others, no single leader, no rigid formation. They protect without knowing me, she whispered. They protect because it's wrong, Evan said. The standoff lasted hours. Finally, the Imperial ships withdrew. Not defeated, but denied. Silence returned. Lyra sank to her knees, strength leaving her. Evan moved toward her instinctively, then stopped, giving her space. You stayed, she said. Yeah, Evan replied. Told you I would. She looked up at him, eyes reflecting the station lights. You do not see a monster, she said, even now. I see someone who deserved better, Evan said. Something inside Lyra cracked open, a truth she had buried deep, dangerous and bright. If this human could stand beside her without fear, then perhaps it was time to stop hiding forever. And when she finally revealed her true self, the galaxy would not be ready. The station drifted in quiet after the Imperial ships withdrew. The human vessels remained nearby, holding position like silent guards. Their presence changed the space around the station. It felt heavier, safer, and far more dangerous at the same time. Evan stood at the main console, reading updates from the human fleet. They did not ask many questions. They rarely did in moments like this. A civilian was threatened. A line had been crossed. That was enough. Lyra watched him from across the habitat ring. She still felt weak, not in body but in spirit. The Empire's shadow had touched her again, and it reminded her how fragile hiding truly was. "They will return," she said. Evan nodded. "Yeah, they always do." She tilted her head slightly. "You speak as if this is familiar." "It is," Evan replied. "Humans have a long history with bullies who don't like being told no." Lyra studied the human ships on the external display. "They came quickly." "Outer fleet," Evan said. "They patrol places nobody else wants to be." She absorbed that quietly. A species willing to guard the edges of known space was not as weak as the galaxy believed. Hours later, the human fleet commander opened a channel to Evan directly. The commander's face appeared on the screen, calm and sharp-eyed. "We can hold them off for now," the commander said, "but you're sitting on something the Empire wants badly." Evan glanced toward Lyra, then back to the screen. "She's a person, not a thing." The commander paused. "That's not how they see it." "Doesn't change what she is," Evan said. The commander sighed. "We'll maintain a perimeter, but understand this. If the Empire escalates, this becomes bigger than a salvage job." "I understand," Evan replied. The channel closed. Lyra approached slowly. "They speak as if I am already condemned." "Empires don't like losing control," Evan said, "especially over their secrets." Her hands tightened into fists. "I am tired of being a secret." Evan turned to face her fully. "You don't owe anyone the truth, not me, not them." "I owe myself," Lyra said. She walked past him, deeper into the station, toward a sealed chamber Evan had not entered before. The door was reinforced with layers of alien material and manual locks. "I need you to listen," she said without turning back. "And I need you to understand something before you see what I truly am." Evan hesitated, then followed at a respectful distance. Inside the chamber, the air felt different, thicker, charged. Strange symbols were etched into the walls, glowing faintly as Lyra approached the center of the room. "This form you know," she said, gesturing to her twisted body, "is a veil, a prison. It hides me and restrains me." Evan's brow furrowed. "Why stay in it?" "Because the truth is dangerous," she said. "To the Empire, to the galaxy, and perhaps to you." Evan met her gaze. "I'm listening." Lyra took a slow breath. The lights dimmed. The symbols along the walls brightened. She began to change. The ridged skin smoothed, reshaping itself like liquid crystal. Her uneven limbs straightened, lengthening with graceful precision. The scars faded, not erased but absorbed, becoming patterns that glowed softly beneath her skin. Energy radiated from her, filling the chamber with warmth and pressure. Evan stepped back instinctively, heart pounding, not from fear but from awe. Her true form stood before him, tall and luminous. Her presence felt ancient, powerful, and impossibly calm. Her eyes no longer reflected light, they generated it. "This is what they tried to erase," Lyra said, her voice layered, deeper yet gentle. "We were not monsters, we were anchors." "Anchors?" Evan asked quietly. "We stabilized regions of space," she said, "prevented collapse. Balanced energy flows, entire systems depended on us." Evan swallowed. "That's why they feared you." "Yes," Lyra replied, "an empire cannot rule what it cannot control." She watched his reaction closely. Many had knelt, many had attacked, many had fled. Evan did none of those things. He simply took a breath and said, "You're still Lyra." Something flickered across her expression. Surprise, relief, pain. "You are not overwhelmed," she said. "I am," Evan replied honestly. "Just not in a bad way." She laughed softly, the sound echoing through the chamber like distant bells. "You are a strange species," she said. "Yeah," Evan agreed. "We get that a lot." Outside the station, Imperial ships returned, this time more of them, heavier, louder. Their weapons powered up without hesitation. "They know," Lyra said. "They always know." Evan's console chimed with incoming alerts. Human ships shifted formation, tightening their defensive lines. "They're escalating," Evan said. Lyra looked at the stars beyond the viewport. "If I remain hidden, they will keep coming. They will bleed your people until you leave." Evan shook his head. "We won't leave." "That is not enough," she said. "You cannot fight an empire forever over one life." Evan stepped closer. "We've tried, never works." She smiled sadly. "Then let me end this." She raised a hand. Space itself seemed to bend slightly around her fingers. "I can reveal myself to them fully," she said. "They will be forced to acknowledge what they destroyed. Others will see. The lie will fracture." "And you?" Evan asked. "I will become a target," Lyra said. "Openly, permanently." Evan was silent for a long moment. "Humans have another saying," he said finally. "If telling the truth is dangerous, it's probably worth protecting." Lyra studied him. You would stand with me even then. Yeah, Evan said. Someone should. The Imperial commander hailed them again. This time the voice carried confidence. Surrender the entity, the commander said. This is your final warning. Lyra stepped into the open channel. Her true form filled the screen, radiant and undeniable. I am not your asset, she said calmly. I am the proof of your crime. The commander froze. Shock rippled through the Imperial fleet. Data spikes flared as systems tried to classify what they were seeing. You erased us, Lyra continued. You twisted our bodies and our stories, but we endured. The galaxy watched, not just the Empire, traitors, scouts, observers. The signal spread faster than any weapon. The Imperial commander recovered quickly. Fire, he ordered. The human fleet moved instantly, not with brute force, but with coordination so tight it looked like instinct. Ships interlocked shields, redirected fire, protected the station with their own hulls. Evan felt the impact through the deck plates. He grabbed a rail to steady himself. Human fleet to all channels, the commander broadcast. Civilian under our protection, any further aggression will be answered. The battle did not explode into chaos. It became something else, a test of will. Lyra extended her awareness beyond the station. She touched the energy fields the Empire had long abused. She stabilized them, redirected them, turned their own power into dead weight. Imperial weapons faltered. Systems overloaded, not destroyed but rendered useless. The Empire retreated again, this time not out of calculation but fear. Silence fell once more. Evan exhaled slowly. Well, he said, that's going to make the news. Lyra's glow dimmed slightly as she returned to a calmer state. There is no hiding now. Evan looked at her, steady and certain. Then we figure out what comes next. She met his gaze, something fierce and hopeful burning behind her eyes. For the first time in centuries, Lyra was not alone, and for the first time the galaxy had seen the truth. What happened next would change everything. The days after Lyra revealed her true self did not bring peace. They brought attention. Signals flooded the outer routes. Traitors slowed to watch. Scouts lingered longer than needed. News spread across the galaxy, twisted and reshaped by fear, hope, and old lies. Some called Lyra a myth reborn. Others called her a weapon. The Empire called her a threat to order. Evan watched the traffic reports scroll across the station's main screen. The human fleet had reinforced its perimeter, but even they could not block curiosity. They are circling, Lyra said softly, like predators that are unsure whether the prey will bite back. Evan glanced at her. She stood near the viewport, her form subdued but still radiant in a way that made the room feel fuller. She had learned to dim herself, not to hide, but to exist without overwhelming the fragile systems around her. Let them watch, Evan said. Watching isn't the same as acting. For the Empire it usually is, Lyra replied. She was right. 3 days later the Empire acted. They did not send warships first. They sent words. A formal declaration arrived on every open channel. Calm, polished, cold. The Empire claimed historical ownership of Lyra's species. They accused humanity of harboring a destabilizing force. They warned that continued protection would be seen as an act of aggression. Evan listened to the message in silence. Around him, human officers on the secure channel exchanged looks. None of them looked surprised. They always dress threats up like concern, one officer muttered. The human fleet commander spoke clearly. We are not surrendering a civilian. The reply came quickly. Then you will share responsibility, the message ended. Hours later, Imperial fleets began moving, not toward the station directly, but toward human space. Evan felt the shift before anyone said it out loud. They're not coming for us, he said. They're going around. Lyra turned sharply. They will punish your people. Yeah, Evan said quietly. That's how empires work. Human worlds along the outer systems reported increased pressure, trade blockades, inspection fleets. Subtle force meant to strain resources without open war. Humanity responded the only way it knew how. They adapted. Civilian ships rerouted supplies. Independent captains volunteered escort duty. Engineers rewrote logistics code overnight to bypass Imperial choke points. No single order commanded it. No single leader planned it. It spread naturally. Lyra watched it unfold through shared data feeds. You move like a living thing, she said. Not an army. Evan smiled faintly. We're better that way. The Empire grew frustrated. Pressure turned into confrontation. An Imperial task force jumped directly into the station's space, larger than before. Weapons powered hot. No warnings this time. Human ships moved to intercept. The first exchange was brief and sharp. Shields flared, hulls shook, the station trembled as energy washed over it. Evan grabbed a console to steady himself. "They're testing us." "They are trying to provoke a mistake," Lyra said. She closed her eyes, extending her awareness again. She felt the strain in space, the unnatural distortions caused by Imperial tech. She could fix it. She could silence their weapons permanently, but she hesitated. Evan noticed. "What is it?" "If I strike back fully," she said, "they will call it proof. They will say I am exactly what they claimed." Evan nodded slowly. "Then don't give them that." The human fleet fought differently. They did not overpower. They outlasted. They rotated ships constantly, sharing shield load, covering retreats, denying the Empire a clean victory. Hours passed. Then days. The Empire expected fear. Instead, they met endurance. On human worlds, people watched feeds of battered but unbroken ships holding the line. They did not panic. They organized. Factories shifted production without waiting for orders. Old ships were pulled from storage and refitted. Retired pilots returned quietly. Lyra saw it all. "They suffer because of me," she said one night, her voice heavy. Evan sat across from her, exhausted but steady. "They're choosing this." "You did not ask them," she replied. "No," Evan said, "but we don't always wait to be asked when something's wrong." The Empire made its next move weeks later. They targeted Evan. An Imperial strike team infiltrated the station during a momentary gap in the human perimeter. Silent, precise. They cut through secondary airlocks and flooded corridors with suppressive fields. Alarms screamed. Evan was halfway across the habitat ring when the floor buckled beneath him. He hit the wall hard, vision blurring. Shapes moved through the smoke. "Human," a voice said coldly. "Your presence complicates matters." Evan pushed himself up, pain flashing through his side. "You picked a bad place to make a point." They moved to restrain him. The station shook violently. Lyra arrived like a force of nature. She did not strike them down. She did not burn them away. She simply stood between them and Evan. The suppressive fields failed instantly. "You will not touch him," she said. The Imperial soldiers hesitated. Training fought instinct. No doctrine prepared them for this. They retreated. Not because they were defeated, but because they understood they could not win that moment. When the danger passed, Evan leaned against a wall, breathing hard. "Guess I'm officially involved now," he said weakly. Lyra knelt beside him, her glow dimmed with worry. "You always were." The Empire withdrew its strike team and changed tactics again. They went public. They accused humanity of manipulating Lyra. They framed her as a tool humans intended to use against galactic stability. They demanded sanctions, isolation, punishment. Some species listened, others remembered. Small voices began to speak up. Worlds that had suffered under Imperial control. Species that had lost history, culture, even form. They saw Lyra and recognized something familiar. Truth. Messages reached the station from places Lyra thought were lost forever. Survivors, fragments of her kind. Scarred, hidden, alive, she broke down when she heard them. "They endured," she whispered. "Like me." Evan stood beside her, silent, letting the moment belong to her. The Empire realized too late that their greatest mistake was not altering Lyra's people. It was letting one of them survive long enough to be seen. As pressure mounted, the human fleet received a transmission from multiple neutral systems. Observers, mediators, they wanted talks. The Empire resisted, but cracks were forming. Too many eyes, too many questions. A summit was proposed, neutral space. Open channels. Lyra was invited, so was Evan. "You don't have to go," Evan said when he saw her hesitation. "I do," Lyra replied. "Hiding created this. Speaking may end it." The summit hall floated in deep space, a structure older than most empires. Representatives gathered, careful and tense. When Lyra entered, the room fell silent. She did not glow brightly. She did not project power. She simply stood and spoke. She told them what her people had been, what was done to them, why the Empire feared them. She did not shout. She did not threaten. She told the truth. Evan watched from her side, aware of how small he looked next to her and how strong that made him feel. The Empire's representative denied everything, claimed fabrication, accused humanity again. Then evidence appeared, records long buried, genetic data, witness accounts. The lies collapsed under their own weight. The summit ended without resolution, but something had changed. The galaxy had seen. As Evan and Lyra returned to the station, human ships escorted them quietly. "They will not stop," Lyra said. "No," Evan agreed. But neither will we. She looked at him, eyes steady, resolved. Your species stands at a crossroads. Evan smiled tiredly. We've been there before. Above them, stars burned cold and distant. The Empire still had power, but it no longer had silence, and that terrified it more than any weapon ever could. The galaxy did not calm down after the summit. It grew louder. News feeds argued day and night. Some called Lyra a savior. Others called her a danger. The Empire worked hard to keep its allies close, repeating old fears and polished lies. Humanity stayed where it was, holding the line around the station, not moving forward, not backing away. Evan felt the pressure even inside the station's walls. Messages came constantly. Requests for interviews, warnings, quiet threats disguised as advice. He ignored most of them. Lyra felt everything. She sensed tension in space itself, trade routes bending away. Fleets moving in patterns meant to surround rather than attack. The Empire was not preparing for one battle. It was preparing for exhaustion. They are patient, Lyra said one cycle as she stood near the main viewport. They believe time is on their side. Evan leaned back in his chair, rubbing tired eyes. Empires usually do. Human supply ships docked and departed in steady rhythm. Engineers reinforced the station again and again, turning a forgotten outpost into something stubborn and hard to break. No one said it out loud, but everyone knew this place had become a symbol. That made it dangerous. The Empire struck next where humanity felt safest, not at the station. At home. Outer human colonies reported sudden accidents, navigation failures, power grid collapses. No weapons fired, no fleets declared. Just enough damage to hurt, not enough to justify open war. Human leadership argued. Some wanted to pull back, some wanted to push forward. Most wanted to protect their people without becoming what the Empire claimed they were. Lyra watched the discussions through shared feeds. They suffer because of me, she said again, her voice heavier each time. Evan stood beside her. They suffer because the Empire can't stand losing control. That distinction matters less to those in pain, Lyra replied. She was quiet for a long time after that. The Empire escalated slowly, carefully. They isolated human trade partners, forcing neutral systems to choose between stability and principle. Some chose stability, others hesitated. Fear spread faster than truth. Then the Empire made a mistake. They captured one of Lyra's people. The message arrived without emotion. A short transmission clearly meant for her alone. Visual confirmation followed. A survivor, altered, scarred, alive. Evan felt Lyra's reaction before she spoke. The air in the room tightened. Lights flickered. They found one, she whispered. They kept one alive. The Empire's offer was simple. Withdraw, step back, end the protection, or watch the last remnants of her people disappear. Evan clenched his jaw. They're baiting you. Yes, Lyra said, and they know it will work. Human command channels exploded with argument. Rescue plans were suggested and rejected within minutes. The captive was deep in Imperial space. Any attempt would mean open war. Lyra stood very still. I can go alone, she said. Evan turned sharply. No. They want me, she replied, not humanity. If I surrender myself, they may release the others. They won't, Evan said. Empires don't bargain in good faith. She met his eyes. But I must try. Human leadership sent a message moments later. They would not force her choice. They would stand with her either way. That hurt more than pressure ever could. Lyra walked the station alone that cycle, touching walls, listening to the hum of systems Evan had repaired. She remembered hiding, surviving, waiting for extinction. She found Evan in the engine section, hands deep in a panel he had no real reason to be fixing. You're stalling, she said gently. Yeah, he admitted. Feels useful. She stood beside him. If I go, the Empire will show their true face. And if you don't, Evan said, they'll keep hurting people until someone breaks. She nodded. That is why this choice is cruel. They stood in silence, surrounded by the quiet labor of human ships outside. Finally, Evan spoke. Whatever you decide, you won't be alone. Lyra looked at him. Even if I walk into their hands? Especially then, Evan replied. The plan that formed was not simple, it was not safe, it was very human. Lyra would answer the Empire's demand publicly. Humanity would not withdraw, they would follow. The Empire expected surrender. They did not expect witnesses. The exchange point was set near a neutral border. Imperial fleets gathered in strength, confident and prepared. Human ships arrived too, fewer but close together. The galaxy watched. Lyra stepped forward into open space, her true form no longer dimmed. She did not project force, she projected presence. The Empire presented the captive, small, broken, alive. Lyra felt the pain of her kind like a wound reopening. "I am here," she said across open channels. "Release them," the Imperial commander smiled. "In time." That was the moment the lie ended. Human ships moved, not to attack, to broadcast. Data poured into every open channel. Records humanity had helped uncover. Proof gathered quietly, patiently over weeks. Genetic crimes. Testimonies, entire erased histories. The captive spoke, weak but clear. The Empire's control cracked. Neutral fleets hesitated. Allies questioned orders. Some Imperial ships powered down rather than fire. The commander shouted commands. They were no longer obeyed cleanly. Lyra stepped forward again. "You altered us to rule without balance," she said. "You called us monsters so no one would listen." She extended her awareness not to harm but to reveal. Energy flows stabilized. Systems long strained by Imperial abuse settled. The galaxy felt it. Worlds that had suffered unexplained disasters suddenly understood why. The Empire fired. Human ships took the hits. They did not break formation. Evan watched from the station feed, heart hammering as familiar call signs flashed warnings and damage reports. He recognized some of the ships, some of the pilots. "They're holding," he whispered. Lyra felt it too. Human will was not loud, but it was stubborn. Imperial weapons faltered again as Lyra's presence disrupted the space they depended on. This time, she did not hold back as much. She did not destroy, she denied. The captive was released. Human rescue craft surged forward, fast and reckless. The Empire ordered a full retreat, not strategic, panicked. The battle ended without victory cries, without celebration, just silence. When Lyra returned to the station, her glow was dim, her posture heavy. Evan met her at the airlock. "You did it," he said softly. She shook her head. "We did." News followed fast. Imperial allies withdrew support. Neutral systems demanded oversight. Sanctions formed. Investigations opened. The Empire did not fall, but it bled. More survivors of Lyra's people came forward, hidden, scarred, alive. Human worlds sent aid without asking for reward. Ships carried supplies, not flags. Lyra stood before a gathering of her people for the first time in generations. Not as a ruler, not as a weapon, as proof. Evan watched from the side, quiet and proud. Later, when the station settled into rare calm, Lyra stood beside him at the viewport. "You changed the course of this," she said. Evan shook his head. "I fixed a station, you did the rest." She looked at him, eyes steady. "You didn't flinch, that was the beginning." Outside, human ships drifted in loose formation, tired but present. The Empire still existed. But now so did the truth, and humanity had made its choice clear. They would stand with the broken, no matter who told them not to. Part 5, 1,600 words ka leko, or interesting hunachea, or third-person style, ma lekni ha, or simple basic English ka, or violated free honachai. Without short heading, the war did not end with a single victory. It ended with a slow shift that the Empire could not stop. Weeks passed after the exchange. The Empire pulled back fleets not out of kindness, but because holding ground had become too costly. Too many eyes were watching now. Too many systems were questioning old agreements and old fears. The station remained where it was, no longer forgotten. Human ships still guarded it, but their posture had changed. They were no longer bracing for collapse. They were waiting. Evan stood in the main habitat ring, watching technicians from 3 different species work side by side. No one argued about territory. No one questioned why they were there. The station had become neutral ground in a galaxy that desperately needed one. Lyra moved among them, no longer hiding, no longer overwhelming. She had learned how to exist openly without dominating a room. Her presence still made people pause, but now it came with curiosity instead of terror. "They are not afraid," she said quietly to Evan. "Some still are," Evan replied. "But fear changes when people have time to think." Lyra nodded. "Time is something we were never allowed." Messages arrived daily from across the galaxy, requests for help, questions about the energy stabilizations she could provide. Stories from species who had suffered under Imperial rule and now wanted proof they were not alone. Lyra answered when she could, not as a queen, not as a god, as a witness. Humanity helped in quieter ways. Engineers shared data freely. Doctors treated survivors without asking about alliances. Ships escorted refugees through dangerous space without charging fees. The galaxy noticed. The Empire noticed too. Their final attempt came not with fleets but with law. They called for a galactic tribunal, confident they could still bend rules written in their favor. They accused humanity of destabilizing entire regions. They accused Lyra of manipulating fundamental forces beyond her right. The tribunal accepted the case. Evan watched the notice appear on the screen. "This is it," he said. "Their last clean move." Lyra stood beside him, calm but alert. "Truth does not always win in rooms like that." "No," Evan agreed, "but it survives them." The tribunal chamber was massive, built to intimidate as much as judge. Representatives from dozens of systems attended in person or by projection. The Empire arrived in force, confident and polished. Humanity arrived without ceremony. Evan walked in beside Lyra, wearing the same worn jacket he had worn since his salvage days. He was not a diplomat. He was not a hero by training. He was a witness. The Empire spoke first. They used smooth words and long histories. They described order, stability, and the dangers of unchecked power. They painted Lyra as an unknown risk and humanity as reckless protectors. Many listened. Then Lyra spoke. She did not argue law. She did not threaten consequence. She told her people's story again, simply. Clearly, with evidence now supported by dozens of independent sources. Then she did something the Empire did not expect. She stepped back. Evan stepped forward. "I'm not special," Evan said, voice steady in the vast chamber. "I'm a repair tech. I fix broken things." Some representatives looked confused, others amused. "I found a station everyone else avoided," he continued. "I found someone inside who was treated like garbage by the galaxy, not because she hurt anyone, but because an empire said she was dangerous." He looked directly at the Imperial delegation. "I didn't flinch," he said. "That's it, that's the whole story," murmurs spread. "I didn't see a weapon," Evan continued. "I saw someone surviving. I saw someone who deserved help." Everything that happened after came from that moment. He gestured around the chamber. "If that's destabilizing, then maybe your stability was already rotten." The silence that followed was heavy. Other voices rose, survivors, witnesses, species once silenced by fear. One by one they spoke, not coordinated, not rehearsed, honest. The tribunal recessed for 3 days. During that time the galaxy waited. When the verdict came, it was not dramatic, it was devastating. The Empire was formally censured. Oversight was imposed on their territories. Reparations were ordered. Their authority over altered species was revoked completely. They did not collapse, but they lost control. As the decision echoed across space, celebrations did not erupt everywhere. Some systems remained cautious. Some feared retaliation. Humanity did not celebrate loudly either. They got to work. Rebuilding began. Stations once abandoned were reopened. Trade routes rerouted through safer paths. Survivors of Lyra's people were brought together slowly, carefully, given choice instead of command. Lyra helped where she could. She stabilized regions damaged by Imperial extraction. She taught others how balance worked not as a secret but as shared knowledge. Over time, she did something unexpected. She stopped being unique. Others learned, not fully, not perfectly. But enough. The galaxy became less fragile. One cycle long after the tribunal, Evan stood with Lyra on the station's outer platform. The stars were quiet. Human ships drifted lazily nearby, no longer in tight defense. "You could leave," Evan said, "anywhere you want." Lyra considered that. "So could you," Evan smiled. "I like fixing things," she looked at him. "You fixed more than you know." "I just didn't look away," Evan replied. She studied him, then nodded. "That is rare." News arrived quietly that day. The Empire had withdrawn from several key systems. Their fleets no longer moved freely. Former allies began forming independent councils. No victory parade marked the moment, just a shift. Lyra stood before a gathering of her people again. This time there were children among them, born free, unaltered. She did not lead them. She stood with them. Evan watched from the side, unnoticed, exactly where he preferred to be. Later, as the station lights dimmed for cycle rest, Lyra joined him at the viewport. "The galaxy changed," she said. Evan nodded. "It always does." "Because of one human who didn't flinch," she added. Evan shrugged. "Anyone could have done it." "But they didn't," Lyra said. Outside, a new generation of ships passed through the stars, some human, some not. Flying together without fear. The galaxy had learned something important. Humanity was not terrifying because of its weapons, not because of its ships, but because when faced with something broken and hated, humans sometimes chose to stand still. And that choice made quietly by one ordinary human had revealed the truth. Not just about Lyra, but about who humans really were. And once the galaxy saw that, it would never forget.